Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're literally popping the hood on the mechanics of prayer, but we're actually looking at it through this really fascinating psychological and energy-based lens. So we're stepping back from those traditional, purely religious views to examine the unseen forces behind, well, why people pray, how it supposedly works, and what it actually does to our internal state. We're grounding today's analysis in the book The Origin of Love, specifically focusing on its framework for understanding universal energy. The author, Ryuho Okawa, presents this highly detailed philosophy of mind and spirit. And in Chapter 3, which is what we'll be dissecting today, he lays out a remarkably structured approach to the unseen forces around us. Impartially speaking, it's just a profound look into the inner workings of faith and human intention. So, right off the bat, the text approaches prayer completely outside of traditional wish granting frameworks. It redefines it as the act of becoming humble before God and Buddha, and actively connecting to universal energy. It's less about asking for, say, a promotion or a new car, and much more about an introspective practice of self purification. You're basically aligning yourself with a broader, altruistic rhythm. Okay, let's dive into this structured journey. We're going to cover the true meaning of prayer, why it's not a transaction, connecting with higher spirits, love filling the universe, two methods of prayer, and finally, radiating light to the world.
Section 1. The true meaning of prayer.
Our very first step here is to establish what prayer actually means within this specific philosophy. Honestly, we kind of have to strip away our preconceived notions to understand the text's baseline. Chapter 3 focuses entirely on the individual's internal posture before stepping into the spiritual realm. The essence of prayer is deeply, deeply rooted in how you prepare your own mind. It's about rectifying your posture both literally and spiritually before you even utter a single word. The text outlines that before connecting with anything greater, you must first empty yourself. The author states that if you come to prayer with a heart full of daily anxieties, greed, or just negative thoughts, you essentially block the connection right there. You have to actively remove those worldly vibrations to truly face the divine. It's an act of profound self-reflection, quieting the mind, examining the impurities and cloudiness of your own heart, and facing them head-on without making any excuses. Section 2. Not a transaction. Now, this requires a massive shift in how we usually view divine favors. The text explicitly states that faith is not a cosmic vending machine or some sort of give-and-take contract. That transactional view that assumes, hey, I do this, so the universe owes me that. But this text requires a complete paradigm shift away from that, toward absolute humility. You approach with reflection and, crucially, you surrender the outcome. You are not striking a business deal with the divine. To really illustrate this, the author uses a brilliant corporate metaphor. He explains that it's a lot like a subordinate submitting a project proposal to a supervisor. You can make the request, absolutely, but the ultimate right to approve, reject, or modify that request rests entirely with the higher authority. You have to respect the hierarchy. The decision on whether a prayer is answered or how it's answered is completely up to the judgment of the divine. Section 3. Higher spirits and universal energy. So, who or what is actually receiving these non-transactional prayers? According to the text, connecting with higher spirits, and the source mentions figures like Jesus Christ and others residing in the heavenly realms, requires strict prerequisites. You can't just dial them up on a whim. You have to ensure your frequency matches theirs to close that spiritual distance. And that means purifying your heart, removing extreme attachments or desperation, aligning your thoughts with divine will, and, importantly, maintaining patience over time. And this brilliantly illustrates the spiritual ecosystem described in the book. While you might not get a direct verbal answer or, a booming voice from the clouds, higher spirits naturally catch and respond to thoughts that resonate with divine love. The text explains that these spirits have an inherent nature where they simply cannot ignore a genuine, selfless plea. If your prayer aligns with the greater good, they are instinctively drawn to assist you. Section 4. Love filling the universe. Let's zoom out to a macroscopic view for a second. We're shifting from the personal to the cosmic. Leaning into a really relatable energy metaphor, the text suggests that our daily lives just drain us. The stress, the work, the anxieties, they totally deplete our internal reserves. Because of this, we function a lot like a battery, making it absolutely necessary to tap into the infinite, invisible grid of the universe to recharge.
Prayer in this context is literally the act of plugging yourself into that cosmic wall socket. Rather than being this vast, cold, empty space, this philosophy insists the universe is actually overflowing with supportive energy just waiting to be accessed. As this quote highlights, the universe is filled with the energy of love, success, and prosperity. It's an incredibly optimistic viewpoint, right? The energy is already there, abundantly flowing. Humans just need to know how to properly attune their receivers to harness it.
Section 5. 2 methods of prayer. So, having established the theoretical framework, how do we practically apply this? The author notes there are generally 2 types of prayers: prayers for achieving specific desires and prayers for recharging energy. And he explicitly defines the second type, the prayer for recharging energy, as the primary and safest practice. It shifts the whole goal from asking for specific worldly favors to simply refilling your spiritual battery with the universe's infinite power, which the author states carries much, much less spiritual risk. Translating this philosophy into action, the text provides these 4 clear, practical steps to safely and effectively perform a recharging prayer. First, you quiet the mind. Second, you ask the divine to grant you infinite energy and wisdom. Third, you detach from any specific outcome or timeline. And fourth, and this is absolutely crucial, you take that newly acquired energy, step out into society, and contribute. Section 6. Radiating light to the world. Which brings us to the ultimate purpose of this entire practice. We don't recharge just to feel good. There is a functional end goal here. The text emphasizes that true success isn't about hoarding this recharged energy. It's not meant for satisfying your personal ego or selfish desires. Instead, you're meant to act as a conduit. You draw in the universal energy of love so that you can radiate that light back out into the world, actively contributing to the well-being and prosperity of others. It's this beautiful cycle of receiving and giving. This poignant reminder from the text summarizes the core paradigm shift we've explored today. We are surrounded by an ecosystem of immense altruistic power. We aren't just isolated entities fighting against a harsh world. If we approach it with humility, a clear mind, and a genuine desire to help others, we literally have access to an infinite supply of supportive energy. So as you reflect on this explainer's journey from internal humility all the way out to universal energy, ask yourself this final question. If you could tap into that infinite grid right now, how would you use that energy to contribute to the world today? Thanks for exploring this fascinating topic with me, and keep seeking out the structural truths hidden in our universe.